Welcome back to Season 3. This is Episode 9 of How to Build a Sustainable Music Career and Collect All Revenue Streams. I'm your host, author, and entrepreneur, Emily White. Huge thanks to the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment for making this season happen. This live podcast taping is part of New York Music Month, the official celebration of New York City's vibrant and dynamic music ecosystem. June also means it's Pride Month. I want to deeply thank our partners over at the Ally Coalition for supporting us and the crucial work they are doing. Founded in 2013 by Jack and Rachel Antonoff, the Ally Coalition provides critical support for organizations dedicated to bettering the lives of LGBTQ youth and raises awareness about the systematic inequalities facing the LGBTQ population. The Ally Coalition is committed to bettering the lives of LGBTQ youth through tours, social media campaigns, and collaborative partnerships. To learn more and how you can get involved, visit theallycoalition.org. Okay, so let's do this. We're back for the final week of live podcast tapings to take you through the modern music industry in full, which means you've gotten your art together, you set up your text list via community.com and overall marketing channels before you began recording, so that's all in place. Plus, you've launched your pre-order or your Patreon to your Patreon to monetize your music before it's even out. We've covered everything you need to know legally around your music, in particular, ensuring everyone in the studio signs a work for hire agreement, and you have a clear process to discuss and confirm songwriting splits. You've also recorded your music, which is very exciting, and registered your songwriting with a performing rights organization as well as Songtrust or your publishing administrator. Last week, we dug in on the proper ways to distribute your music to receive the maximum amount of income while exploring where music distribution is headed via Web3. We also learned from Janae Brown, who's known as the Beyonce of marketing, on how to market with or without a budget. And we discussed a lot with legendary concert promoter Peter Shapiro. So now that you're getting out there and playing live and your release is out and everything, let's talk all things merch. So today we're discussing merch reconnaissance. And before I bring out our esteemed guest, I just want to share some general merch best practices. So first, and we talked a little bit about this in episode 2 when we were putting your pre-order together, you really want to keep cost of goods sold in mind, right? So we talked about something like handwritten lyrics, you could charge like $50 for, and that really just costs your time and a piece of paper. You don't always just have to go press up hoodies or like super expensive items because that's what you think you're supposed to do. You can also keep stickers, /badges, buttons in mind. As I mentioned in episode 2, I'm big on posters. When I was managing and tour managing and doing merch and all that, posters can cost like 10 cents to press up. Maybe they've gone up to 15 cents or something. You can charge like $10 for that. You can autograph the posters, charge $25. You can personally autograph them, personalize it for the fan, charge like $50. Just be mindful of size because if you are self-fulfilling, posters over 11 by 17 size-wise can cost a little bit more to ship. So you want to be mindful of that. If you are doing your own merch, also be mindful of quality, right? Like think about, merch shirts you have or even like free shirts you have. I have like a lot of really random free shirts from startups. And if they're nice quality, I've had them like 10 years. I wear them to work out. I wear them on planes and stuff. As opposed to those shirts that like fade and fall apart. And if you are purchasing any sort of organic cotton or using recycled materials, make sure you say that. Make sure you have a sign that says that at the merch table. Make sure it says that on your online store because if that's important to you, it's likely important to your audience as well. Also be mindful of the amount of colors you have on a shirt. I know a lot of merch companies are super bummed when an artist comes to them, with a 10 color design or whatever, and then, the merch company has to give the artist the sticker shock of the price. So personally, I think kind of sleek and simple looks a little bit better anyway, but you really only want to use a few different colors. There was an artist I was interviewing on the I Voted podcast, Harry and the Hootenannies, who was telling me that they just buy their shirts at Goodwill. So they get a lot of cool vintage shirts. Their fans really like it. So that's something that I thought that was really creative that I wanted to pass along. If you are self-fulfilling through your Bandzoogle website or your Squarespace website, if you're in the United States, stamps.com is really helpful, really easy, makes, postage and shipping super seamless. Obviously, you can buy packing materials in bulk to help, save on costs that way. And then don't forget insurance if you're shipping any sort of high-end, special, expensive item like a signed guitar or some sort of signed instrument, because you don't want to lose out, should that get damaged in transit. Okay, so first I want to touch on traditional merch companies. So when you outgrow self-fulfilling your merch, and I would say with a lot of this stuff, like when you literally can't do it, when it's become too much, which is different from not wanting to do it, a traditional merch company is going to keep about 20 to 25% of your online merch store revenue. They can also help you with tour projections. Hey, I'm going on a national tour. We're hitting X amount of cities. They'll be mindful to work with you on what's called like your per head at each show. So, if you're making a few dollars, it's the average of how much each fan at the show is spending, right? So if you're making a few dollars per head, that's really good. There's some artists that make $10, $15 a head per show. And then the merch company can help work with you on those projections. If you are, if you do have a merch person and you do have a tour manager, I really like the app at Venue, because that is going to help you keep an eye on your stock on the road. I'd love to have someone from at Venue on at some point, and they can share a little bit more, like if it helps auto replenish. But like when that app was first shown to me, I was like, oh, that would have been nice to have when I was a tour manager. So that's good to know for tour managers and merch folks out there. A traditional merch company can also hook you up with international merch partners. So, the band the main band I used to tour manage is American, but their biggest country was Australia. So it wouldn't make sense for us to be like, shipping heavy merch boxes over to Australia. Our merch company in the US hooked us up with an Australian partner, with a European partner, I think even a separate, I'm sure now post-Brexit, a separate UK partner. And then also work with your concert promoter, especially if you're an American artist playing Canada, because that can be one of the trickiest countries to get merch at. So your concert promoter in Canada is going to tell you like ship ahead, or they'll tell you whatever the current status is to help you out. And also with traditional merch companies, ask about price breaks. So maybe you only need 80 of something, but the price break is at 85. I'm just making that up. So just be proactive to ask about price breaks, because that can save you in the long run. But today we're going to focus on on-demand merch, which I think is, certainly something newer that's popped up over the past few years, because there's so many artists that press up 100 shirts or a bunch of vinyl or whatever. We talked about on-demand vinyl as well in the distribution episode, and then you're stuck with like all these shirts or all this merch, right? So we're going to explore on demand today, and it's time to bring out our esteemed guest who's going to teach us all about that with my guidance. No pressure, Eli. So Eli Valentin, is the co-founder of Fourthwall, a platform that helps creators launch their own e-commerce shops and memberships. A longtime creator economy expert, Eli joined Will Bauman and Walker Williams in 2019 to start the company. Before launching Fourthwall, Eli worked on strategy for multiple Fortune 500 companies. Let's welcome Eli. Come on up. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. Where are you from?
That's a loaded question. I'm from a little bit of many places, but I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I lived all over the U.S., a little bit in D.C., Boston, New York City for 6 months, and then now L.A. So great. Very exciting.
Awesome. And when did you move to the U.S.?
I moved to the U.S. back in 2012, just right out of college. I went to college in Puerto Rico, and just needed a change. I wanted a challenge, change sort of the people that I was interacting with, and I wanted like a multicultural ambient or experience, and so I ended up in DC.
Very cool.
Which is like everyone is from everywhere but DC there. Yeah.
Totally. Very often in New York too, though. I'm glad you lived here for 6 months. I don't want to jinx it, but every guest this season has had ties or lives in New York. So. Oh,
I love the city. I originally thought about moving here, which was funny. I was going to pay like $500 to live in a sofa because that's what my budget could support back then. And then I was lucky enough that my brother offered in DC for free.
Perfect.
And that just steered the direction where I was headed.
I love it. So can you tell us about the Fortune 500 companies you previously worked at and what you learned crafting strategy over those years?
So I work for a consulting firm, and as part of a consulting firm, you're sort of like a soldier, and you're thrown in as an expert, and you're really not an expert. You're just an expert Googler. Mm-hmm. You just have to learn really quick and ask the right questions. So I did a little bit of healthcare and life sciences type of companies. I did power and utilities, and then I've done retail as well. Like I did help Brooks Brothers with one engagement. They wanted to figure out their suits and their manufacturing there. And so turns out I was a big fan of the brand, and that was a lot of fun to work on. So you learn a lot. You learn to research well. You learn to craft the right questions because you have limited time with everyone that you're with. Yeah. And just sort of explore and dig more. And then once you see the bigger picture with everyone that you've talked to, then you come up with like, could this be the reason, or could this be the hypothesis, and then prove that wrong. Yeah. So that's the fun part. It's just this big science experiment.
Right. But it starts with Googling. So that's a good reminder. I mean, because you've worked a lot of fancy places. So
no one knows everything except Google.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of putting the pieces together and going past the first and second page of Google.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
How did you become a creator economy expert? I thought that was so interesting in your bio.
So that was, I'm an internet kid. I grew up, sort of YouTube is my safe space.
Sure.
Every time I sit down and you see with my phone, I'm most likely on YouTube. Wow. Every time I sit down for dinner, some people put the TV or a movie, I go to YouTube. And then my business partners came up to me with the idea of what became Fourthwall, and immediately fell in love with it. I remember this. The next day after I heard the idea, I went back to work and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. Like I need to do that. And it just sort of like some friends that were in the space, and then you learn by doing it. The first year when we started Fourthwall, we were hidden behind, we didn't do a lot of promo. It was building time. Yeah. And so we had maybe under 10 creators that we work with, and it was very tailored. It was very manual. Everything was like no technology behind it. It was all us trying to figure it out. And then from there, you sort of learn what are the pain points of that a creator, right, including musicians, podcasters, YouTubers, streamers, go through. It's very similar. Right, the difference is a podcaster might not go on tour. Same with a YouTuber versus a musician would. And so we just grinded and ran into a lot of trial and error. So a lot of things where we did wrong, and a lot of things that we did right from the get-go, but learning and asking why and why do we need to do it this way versus the old way or the new way.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions within that. How did you meet or know, how did you know your co-founders when they approached you?
So it's funny because we were just at a wedding of one of them, and we were talking about it because they all went to college together at Brown, and I did not. I wasn't as smart. And so it was when I moved to the States, I just happened to have a friend that had a house party that same day after I moved, and I went, and one guy was from DC. He invited me over and we became friends, and sort of like Will was one of his friends, and just we got to meet each other, travel the world. The reason Will says he brought up Fourthwall, the idea, and brought me in, So Walker is a fantastic salesman, amazing product and UX guy. Will is our leader and sort of engineering mastermind. And then they knew they needed someone with operational, like to help with operations and build everything. Everything else, I should say. And I'm a small investor in a waffle company. Nice. Which is very odd, and he saw how dedicated I was, even though I'm probably the smallest investor, and how I would go out of my way, like when they were in Costco, to go and check how the shelf was doing. I would talk to the manager, even though I wasn't asked for it. I was just like, how many units have we sold today? And report back. And he was sort of like, he knew I like operation, and they knew that they needed someone that would just be passionate and just go all out. And thankfully, they thought I was the right person, and they invited me to join along.
I love that. So you made the jump. You didn't mention this, but you were at KPMG before Fourthwall, which is a huge accounting firm for those that don't know. How long was it between like the time that they approached you when you were like, bye, accounting firm?
So we went through like a little bit of a process, not too long, but when you're selecting your co-founders, it's a little bit of like a relationship, or not, shouldn't say a little bit, it is a relationship. Will and I knew each other very well, knew what our personalities were, how we dealt with adversity, because we travel so much together. And so he knew a little bit better on how I would fit. Walker, on the other hand, I had not met him before, so it was sort of like, is this guy for real? Can he handle like what we need? Is he like excited about, will he roll up his sleeves and figure things out? And it just so happens I'm ADHD, and you know how that goes when one gets obsessed with something. You just go 10,000 feet, like feet deep. And that's what happened. Like when Will told me the idea, like the next day, like I mentioned, I was like, couldn't focus at work. I spent it all like researching what's the space like, what tools do creators have, what are the barriers, and then I came up with like, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we can do. And I think that sort of spoke to how we would work together as founders, and so they say yes. So it's been fun since then.
Amazing. I love that. And also, we should clarify, you said UX before, so that's user experience. That's like how you feel. Maybe you could define that. Yeah,
so UX is what you see, sort of how, what it looks like. The idea behind UX is to make things easier and intuitive, so that the better the UX of a product, the less help articles you need, and the more intuitive it is. For example, now, Apple is big on this, and so for us, when you open an iPhone, you can quickly start moving around without having to read the manual. And even when you first got your first iPhone, you were able to do most of it without reading the manual. So that's part of the UX of our platform is we want to make it easier for creators to, like, at the end of the day, as a creator, and I'm going to speak in general here, as musicians, you're a creator, as podcasters, you're a creator. Your main focus should be in creating. That be songwriting, producing a video, whatever it is. You shouldn't have to worry too much about everything else or spend too much time trying to learn it. It should be as easy as possible. So when we set out to build Fourthwall, we wanted to build it not just for that early stage of creator when you're just by yourself, but also as you graduate your different stages in your creator life. Right? When you bring in your first friend to help you, when you bring an official manager, when you go on tour. And so those stages of life, and then each one has a different sort of set of requirements, an expert. And what we wanted to make it as easy from your first day and easier for your manager once they sort of inherit this platform, and you're like, this is what I use for my products, this is what I use for my membership. So that's what we set out to build.
I love that. And also COO, that's Chief Operating Officer, so that makes sense since you're the operations person. Yeah,
so that's basically doing everything from mopping in the office to getting on phones with creators. And the reality, I was educated this way by my parents. I hate titles. I've spoken to this with my team. It's sort of like I hate titles because at the end of the day is we're all in this together, and we do whatever needs to get done to like get our mission or move our mission forward.
Totally agree. Love that. So how did Mr. Serena Williams, Alexis Ohanian, get involved as an investor with Fourthwall? And he's also the Reddit co-founder, which is amazing.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. He was our original investor. He saw the vision when we didn't have a product. Walker had worked with him on his previous live when he founded Teespring. And when he heard the idea, he was a big proponent of he understood fan base. Having co-founded Reddit, right? You understand the power of the public. You understand how it can move mountains. And Fourthwall is all about empowering that relationship and be more direct. And so he saw he understood it and basically said, I'm giving you money. Go ahead and build it. And that's when we went at it. He first time I met him, I remember, there's this, I wasn't part of the startup world. I met CEOs. I've shared cars with CEOs of pharma companies, but it was never like starstruck. With him, it was sort of like a little bit of nervousness because like, here it is, the somewhat of a big person in the internet. And he was the nicest. He's still the nicest person I've met. Very humble, very nice. What you see is what you get. So it's been great to have him support us, and still to this day, he's a big proponent of what we're building. And you can see it. He just launched the LA Golf Club, which is the new Tiger Woods team, the first one in that league, and he used Fourthwall to launch his merch instead of his storefront. He understands the power of merch and sort of that billboard that comes with someone wearing it and Inside Club that it becomes. Same with his football club out in LA, and even his VC firm has merch. So he understands that, and he's a big proponent. So it's been great working with him.
Very cool. So what is on-demand merch? I mean, I touched on it, but you're the expert.
Yeah, so at Fourthwall, one of the perks you get, so you can build your storefront very easily. We also make it easy for you to find products to customize. There's different printing techniques, and there's different printing methods. So one of those techniques or methods is on demand. There is also what you've talked about previously, which is like MOQ or screen, usually known as screen printing, but there's a lot of things that are within minimum order quantity where you have to order in bulk. And then there's digital products that we support. We support all three. With on demand, the best part is there's no inventory. There's very to no product waste. Like when you're first starting, you don't know if your audience skews small or extra large or medium. You don't know if they'll like one product or the other, and you want to keep your options open and sort of test the waters with different products. With on demand, it allows you to do that at no cost. You don't have to buy anything. It just gets produced as it gets sold. Within the on demand, you have the workhorse that everyone knows, which is DTG, which is direct to garment printing. Think of it like a normal printer at your house. It prints on the shirt, and then it gets dried and goes through that process. You have all over printing. You have sublimation. There is embroidery on demand, and then the latest technology that came about is this called DTFX, which is direct to film printing, which we're a huge proponent of it because it marries the two good things of both on demand and screen printing. Screen printing gives you very vivid colors. It lasts forever, and it gets softer as you wash it. DTG, like it prints well, it looks great, but it might not last as much. But however, you don't have to buy as many. So with DTFX, it gives you the color, the durability, but then it's on demand. If you sell one, it gets printed. If you sell 1,000, it gets printed. And so we're very, very excited for that, for the space to sort of shift now towards this new technology.
Totally. And so you mentioned, learning and working through those pain points at the beginning of the company when you had like 10 creators. What were some of those pain points that came up?
The pain points are managing your orders. With Amazon nowadays, everyone expects things to ship as soon as they click the buy button. So that as a musician, as a creator, you have a lot of things if you're self-fulfilling. And so even though you might put it out there in the website, people don't read. And so that also then yields a pain point of support, right? People will email, and all of a sudden they'll email and tweet at the same time. So you want to keep those are some of the pain points that you go through, and understanding at first is how my process is going to work. Is like from when I get an order to when I ship it to how I'm going to deal with support, and how am I going to deal with social media support as well, because nowadays it's just very quick to like tweet and send you a message. And so those are some of the major pain points. And then the other ones are dealing with manufacturers. At the end of the day, the manufacturers want to sell as much as they can, and maybe their interests are not necessarily aligned with the smaller creators, right? And with Fourthwall, you sort of have like a economies of scale behind you to like push those manufacturers when quality is not there. We noticed that at first it was like very hard when things didn't get printed correctly. They'll just like, that's the margin of error. But as a creator and a musician, like you don't want a margin of error. Like one misprint is one too many. And how you deal with it is very important. So those are some of the main pain points, from order fulfilling to support to dealing with production, all while you're doing your art, all while you're managing, a life. So it just adds up.
Absolutely. And I would say, how you deal with it when you're running your own merch store, like customer service 101, is people just want to hear from you. Sometimes you'll get like a nasty email or a nasty message. This happens to me, and then I write back and I'm like, oh, your book's going to arrive tomorrow. And they're surprised it's the author. But usually they're just surprised it's a real human.
That is very true. We're very proud of our support team at Fourthwall. And one of our values is small but mighty. And at the end of the day, what I've tried to sort of, the message that I give to my team is that when you use Fourthwall, we have that direct relationship with your supporter when they contact support. And so that is your most precious asset, is that relationship you have with your audience. And we have to understand the responsibility we have there. And so people will send nasty emails. And our team has been able to turn that around and sort of become like, oh my God, this was amazing. Because people are used to really bad support. And we sort of mimic the Zappos Amazon aspect of, hey, make it right, figure out how to do it within certain boundaries, but also be compassionate and just a normal human being that answers within a reasonable time. It just adds a lot to the experience, and it just minimizes that sort of behavior where like people are like, right now, if you go to Twitter and search Fourthwall, one of our biggest perks is like people vouch. It's like the support is amazing.
Cool.
And that's very important when you're doing your own support, to make sure you're personable, empathetic, and just treat them like you would like to be treated, even though sometimes your energy might not be there. I remember in the early days I used to do support myself. And there were times where you're like, oh my God, like why do they keep asking the same question, or why are they coming at me with such a like anger? And just being nice and about it and empathetic, like flip the script.
I love that. And so you started with like 10 creators. Roughly how many are you up to now at Fourthwall? I
think we just passed, I believe it's like over 25,000 active creators, which is really cool. I remember when we first opened our doors to our platform, I didn't want to do it. I didn't think we were ready. I was so afraid.
Yeah.
Thankfully, our leader, he was like, no, we're ready. Like, we will never be ready, basically, like you want it to be. And it's been great is growing this platform in the community. It's like, there's a lot of cool things that have happened because of that. It's sort of like the community and seeing creators help each other is very rewarding. That has been one of my favorite parts.
What's an example of that?
So we have a Discord where you can go, once you join Fourthwall, you can always join, and then you get access to certain channels. They hype each other out.
Cool.
They'll give each other pointers.
Yeah.
And then the support one, which is where we want people to email us, but if they're in Discord, we also have a support team working that, which is me and another team member. Sometimes when I get to the question, someone else answered it.
Yeah.
And there's like a handful of creators that they're de facto support. They know the platform very well, and they just love answering questions and trying to figure out new tricks and ways of using the platform. And it's fascinating to see how everyone helps each other. Because like community is what we all strive for, and why the internet is so successful. Is that sense of community.
That's right. And for those that don't know, what's Discord?
Discord is a messaging sort of platform. It started for gamers, but now it's for everything. You sort of create a server, and that's something good as a musician or as a creator. You can create your own server and sort of cultivate your community there as well. Think of it like a chat meets Reddit esque. It's actually I'm getting more and more into using it since I'm running the support channel within Discord, and it's fascinating and very interesting how some people use Discord to sort of build community.
What aren't you doing? I mean, that's what people don't always understand about the C-suite.
Yeah, no, and it's just, and this is part of everyone in the company, not just us, the founders, is everyone in the company, like, does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You have your main lane, but at the end of the day, wherever helps is needed, you shift there. It's part of the allure of a startup. You will learn, and you will be thrown in the deep end without knowing how to do things. The willingness to read, research, have some type of common sense, and then be willing to make mistakes. And similar goes to your career as a musician and a creator, is you cannot be afraid of making mistakes. What you should be afraid of repeating mistakes.
Yes.
Which is what I tell everyone that walks through the door at Fourthwall when they start is, I am not worried about you making a mistake. I am more worried about you repeating a mistake. I'm not afraid of you having a bad idea. I'm worried about not everyone getting behind your idea if you're the decision maker there, and failing because of that. We will always fail because idea was bad, not because of execution. And the same thing is with creators and musicians. It's like, you got to just try.
Yeah, I love that. My first book's called Interning 101, and I definitely talk about that with regard to the music business. So that's very validating to hear from you. Like, it's totally cool to make a mistake, just don't make it twice.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. So what problems does the on-demand merch model solve?
The inventory and product waste. It is more efficient in that you'll see that many times whenever you go to the MOQ, you'll end up with unsold inventory. If you do print before selling, there is campaign models which you can run through Fourthwall, where you can pre-sale and then print it later to avoid waste. But it solves that. It solves speed, right? The speed within something gets printed and shipped, you're looking at 2 to 5 days most from that item to being sold to actually shipped. Right now, during like non-peak season, which peak season is during the holidays, you'll see sometimes things ship out the same day. So that it increases the experience and the satisfaction for that supporter, and it gets them excited. There's nothing like, even with Amazon, when you buy, it's just something exciting about receiving something in the mail, and when it's from your favorite like band or musician, it's even more so.
And you mentioned MOQ. I know you defined it before, but what's that again?
MOQ is minimum order quantity. That's
Yeah.
basically anything that requires you to order in batch.
Yeah.
So think of screen printed from there to cut and sew, which is like products you might have to make overseas, keychains, vinyls, CDs. You have to buy a minimum quantity in order for someone to even like accept your order. Like you mentioned in your intro, there's breaks within those prices for the most part. And so the more you order, the better the unit economic or the unit price. So more money, you make more money as you print more. So that's why, to reiterate your point, knowing where the price breaks are is very important. Whenever an MOQ request comes through a Fourthwall, there's a team that handles it because that part is still semi-automated. And they'll give you a quote, with different sort of like, hey, here's our minimum is 150. Yeah. Here's what, if you sell 3,000, like look at the price difference, right? But it's like, you might want to buy 200. And then understanding what does that entail in terms of sizing. Like in a t-shirt, most likely it doesn't matter the color of the t-shirt or the size of the t-shirt, it all counts as part of that 150. But if you change one of the colors within the art, then that will require another minimum, for example. Same with like if you're printing the same art in a t-shirt and a hoodie, you could buy 75 t-shirts, 75 hoodie, as long as everything is the same, meaning size, colors, and placement.
Yeah.
And so there's great ways to get around the minimums to get you the right pricing that you're looking for and the right margins that you're looking for as a musician or as a creator.
That's really interesting. So you do both on demand and MOQ.
Correct.
Okay, great. So if I'm an artist, I can do my on demand if I'm just getting going or for my web sales, but if I'm going on tour, I can order stuff.
We have a few musicians in the platform who have used us for tours. We've done both where they prefer to order on demand and they'll ship it ahead. So they'll put the orders and send it to the venue ahead of time, and then they'll take whatever's left with them to the next show. And then we've had a few where they've done just MOQ or screen printed and order in bulk, and then they figure out how to ship it to the different locations. Right. Like you mentioned, it's easier when you're touring via van through the U.S., harder when you go overseas because you do have to ship things out there, and shipping right now post-pandemic has come down, but it's extremely expensive. And so there's a lot to think about when going through that process.
How was the pandemic for you guys? Because you started in 2019.
It was great, and it was chaotic at the same time. Luckily, we were already semi-remote before it started, so culturally we didn't get impacted as much. The creator space grew significantly. Like the adoption of the creator, what is now called the creator economy, it was leaps. It was like, exponential on how people needed something to do, needed something to watch. Netflix couldn't put out shows as quick as possible. And so where am I going to find my entertainment? Same with musicians, right? Like you couldn't see your favorite band. So they all did live streaming. They tried different things to keep in touch with their fan base. And so that was great. But we were also dealing with the logistical nightmare that it was happening during that time, right? From blanks, they were like, oh my, I have PTSD from trying to print something and all of a sudden the blanks went completely out of stock in the whole US. And you were competing, at that time we were really small, and you're competing against people that are buying the blanks that you used to print, t-shirts, hoodies, like at crazy numbers. So we couldn't safely capture inventory. And I lost a lot of sleep and a lot of years trying to figure how to do that and how to get the product out. Because even though it was the pandemic and we had warnings throughout checkout, just like everyone else, we still wanted to get things out quickly.
And what are blanks?
Blanks are just sort of like the raw product that you use for printing. Think of it, the basic ones are t-shirts, hoodies, hats. They're blank, that's why they're called blanks, that you can print on. Rarely you can buy them without any type of decoration. You have many brands that you can use. One of the workhorse of the industry is the Bella Canvas, which is affordable and great quality. And so those are usually imported. You have Mexico, South America, Bangladesh, and some in China, where they have to get imported. And during the pandemic, you couldn't get anything through a port. It was just very difficult. So those blank suppliers out here in the States just were running out of blanks fairly quickly. And colorways, you might have all of a sudden you were stuck with pinks, but there are no whites or black t-shirt, which are the most popular ones. Same with hoodies. I remember there was a time where a white hoodie was the same price as gold during the pandemic.
Wow.
If you had white hoodie for some reason in your storage, you could get amazing deal for like selling that just blank to some screen printer. So it was very interesting times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before I stumbled on Fourthwall, which I have no idea how, I'd probably have to check my emails or something. I had some really bad on-demand merch experiences, just, really poor quality product, literally like unraveling. So if you do work with an on-demand company, definitely ask for samples before. But how does Fourthwall produce such quality merch? Because I run a fairly large nonprofit called I Voted. So this is a Fourthwall t-shirt. We work with you guys.
Yeah.
And I've been really, really happy. Maybe I saw that like Alexis invest. I don't know what it was that drew me to you guys, but like we've been so happy.
I'm glad to hear that. Sort of like it gives me a smile on my face. It's good. Just a very great thing to hear. So quality for us is extremely important. Every product that gets sold through our manufacturing partners, we have a quality guaranteed sort of approach. When you even create your own product, it gets added there to your product listing automatically. And what we've done is with the economies of scale, we're able to pressure manufacturing partners to improve in certain areas. And we track quality issues. At the end of the day, you will never hit 100%. As much as we strive, perfection is not an end goal. It's always a continuous improvement. And it's how you deal when those items are misprinted or damaged. And so we are able to put pressure on these manufacturing partners to say like, hey, this t-shirt, we've been getting 10% more quality issues in the last 2 weeks. What's going on?
Right.
And so we're able to put pressure there and force them to like look into it, as opposed if it's like a bunch of smaller folks, you as a smaller creator going to them directly, it might not go all the way to the CEO or their head of production. So that's one way we do it. And then the other one is vetting our manufacturing partners. Like right now I'm wearing this shirt, but I'm usually in a t-shirt and a hoodie. It's one of the few shirts that are non-merch related.
Thanks for dressing up for us.
And so we use it, and we sort of know what we like and what are the pain points. Like nowadays, I can't buy a t-shirt at a normal store without thinking, one, knowing what it costs, which is kind of like a shocker when you all of a sudden go buy a shirt and it says $50, when you know it costs like $3 to print. But also the quality, and you touch it, you sort of see it. I'm not very good with washing, meaning like following washing directions. Just wash everything in cold, put it in my dryer. And so if it survives with me, it's a quality that I'm proud of, and a quality that will help, that will offer to our creators. So quality is very important. Like you mentioned, samples. When you join Fourthwall, you have a way to ordering samples. Great. We recommend that not only for checking quality, also checking how it looks. Because one thing is how you see it in the screen, how you see it. We have this amazing product render that creates like lifelike images for you. But at the end of the day, you're seeing it through a computer. It's different when you see it physically. You're like, now that you wear it, you notice that it's a little bit lower or it's a little bit higher, so you want to like tweak it. But also for promoting your merch, you're promoting your products. When you're starting, you're building a community, regardless if you're a podcast, a musician, or not. You're building a community, and you want to make these fans feel rewarded, but also make them invested.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is when they see you wear your own products, when they see you be proud enough that you sort of showcase them and you use them, and it's sort of like another baby for you. And so samples are very important for that, for putting in your social medias, putting in your videos, and so on, sort of like give that excitement for fans to, hey, I want that shirt. Like Eli wore it in the video, I'm going to wear it. Yeah. I
love that. So Fourthwall produces over 200 merch items.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites?
Hoodies. I went from not having any hoodies to having too many. Hoodies are one of my big favorites. There's whenever they're soft, sort of like medium weight. Those are my go-to. I live in Los Angeles, where it is basically permanently spring. In the West LA, I should say, because downtown LA it does get summery. And so I'm constantly on a hoodie. And those are one of my favorite. Water bottles is a great one. One is it's more and more people are using reusable water bottles. It sort of promotes it, and sort of people see you when, for example, in a concert, you might want to have your water bottle, and they see, that printed water bottle, you using it. But at the end of the day, I think the workhorse of the merch world is the T-shirt, like hands down. That is the way to think about a T-shirt. Is not only does it promote your brand, meaning the person wearing it is a walking billboard, but also it promotes community. If I see you with the I Voted, and it's like, oh my God, I partake in the I Voted event in LA, and we can start a conversation about it, and it could spark community and a sort of a friendship and whatnot. And it's one of the most accessible ones that you constantly wear, because at the end of the day, you want your fans to wear it often. And people will buy things that they wear often, right? Like T-shirt is something that you're constantly shifting through day to day, even if you're in school or you're just on the weekends. And so T-shirts are the best, I would say, merch item in my opinion.
Nice. And do we have our social handle on the back of it?
You do. At I Voted Festival.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I know I asked for that. I just obviously can't see behind myself. So.
But there you go. That's the walking billboard, right? So you might not have to even look for it. You all of a sudden, and someone walking behind you. There, when you're walking, sometimes you're like not thinking, and you read that, and all of a sudden you're like, and it just either you're curious about it and immediately we go to our phones, or you're like stay thinking about it and then you hear it later, and it sparks like, oh, I've seen that before. And that's how billboards work, right? It's like they're not the Snicker billboard in the highway is not trying to, it won't sell you a Snicker right there because you're driving. It's about you thinking about a Snicker later on. And same with T-shirt and merch. It's sort of like it's building that community and helping promote your band or brand.
That's great. Do you guys ship internationally?
We do ship internationally, and the great thing with on demand is depending on the manufacturing partner, you will have facilities that print in the EU, in Australia. What that does is it speeds up the shipping process, it lowers the shipping costs, and it makes your fans a lot happier because they get like shipping to Australia from the US, it'll take forever. And so the quicker they get it, the better. The cheaper they get it, the better. Shipping is always a sticker shock to international buyers. And it also reduces customs, right? Because you're shipping within the country. So for those, when they ship within the country, they don't have to pay customs and duties, which they have to, like all of a sudden, most international buyers are used to it because a lot of things come from the States or China. But with this, it's like a nice surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm I'm hesitating because it's like customs is such a pain, and I've just heard so many, nightmare stories from individual artists too. Yeah.
It is a pain point. And it requires it's such a chaotic, I would say, is the way to describe it. You can send the same item to two different people in the same country. One will get customs and the other one doesn't.
Wow.
There's no rhyme or reason. It's very archaic. It's not as advanced in technology as you would expect. Yep. Especially something that it's like a huge revenue generating for countries in different nations. And so that's one of the problems. At the end of the day, you're at the mercy of the customs agent. Do they want to inspect that? Do they want to categorize it differently? Are they having a bad day?
Yeah.
And so it's so variable that you want to deal with it as little as possible.
And so that's customs is all taken care of with Fourthwall.
Yes. So customs in the sense that for those that ship from those countries, you don't have to worry about. For MOQ and items that only ship from the U.S., that is sort of a warning that it goes to the supporter that, okay, there could be, because we can't say that it will be, depends on the agent. There might be additional customs and taxes as it arrives. One thing we do, we give, whenever something ships, you get an order shipped email. They can track it there. And whenever they have questions, if something stays in customs for too long, we will investigate for your supporter and find out. And if it's we've known by now when something is either lost, because a lot of things get lost in customs. And when something is lost, it's sort of hey, sorry, that is lost. We'll either replace it or refund it if we don't have it available anymore. And so we deal with that sort of nightmare that comes with shipping internationally.
Wow, that's great. So what are creative items and strategies you've seen Fourthwall artists and creators implement?
If depends on the audience. At the end of the day, no one knows your audience better than you. And that's very important, to be in tune with what they like. That's why the on-demand could be a great place to test different products. One thing I would say, and sort of a side there, is whenever you launch your store or you're selling at a venue, is try to avoid decision paralysis. We have to advise a lot of creators of hey, there's a sweet spot between 3 to 8, 9 products. Anything more than that, it will create a decision paralysis. Where it's sort of like FOMO. Where, I want this t-shirt, but I also want that one, but I don't have enough money for both. It's which one's the coolest one? And then now you're asking other people, it's which one you think I like. And then when the purchase doesn't happen immediately, most likely you lost that purchase. So first thing, when you're testing, test 1 or 2 products at a time. Once you find out the ones that your audience love, always test different products, but just have 1 or 2. Again, 1 or 2 that are tests. Let me see how mugs do this time. And maybe mugs is your thing. Every audience has one item that is their best selling. We've seen plushies be a huge seller in the creator space.
I don't know what a plushie is.
Plushie is think of it like a teddy bear or a collectible. And small. They're huge in the creator space. People put them in their background in their rooms. And they're adorable. They're a great way to sort of showcase it, decorate your room. And there's some audience that's huge revenue generating. There's others that we've seen notebooks, randomly notebooks is a big one. And then also play to your skills. We have a musician called Harry Mack, amazing improv rapper.
Cool.
Check his video out. They're just impressive how quick he can think. One of his best-selling products is he'll do a freestyle rap custom to you. So you can I think it's every other Friday, they'll put it out for sale. They'll put a limited amount. Then you send him the words that you want him to rap, meaning you can throw, Tower, Brooklyn, New York, and then he'll rap a couple minutes using those words. So that's a big seller. One, because it's what he does, right? He became a musician by like sort of freestyling through the streets of Venice. And that's something that his audience is like, that's so cool. I want my own. So it's like a Cameo-esque. And so that was been very successful. And I find that one amazing.
Yeah.
Another one that we've seen including musicians do is autograph pictures. There's a band and I'm drawing a blank on, and they actually utilize our 3PL, which is our fulfillment center. They take pictures, they print them, they sign it, send it over to us, and then they sell those. And their fans love them because they're usually themed. So towards the holiday, it will be like a holiday photo shoot. And that's something that sells well. Use digital products to test as well. So you could sell images, you could sell backgrounds, you could sell your own music digitally through Fourthwall, and sort of get more access to fan. One thing, and I'm a little bit all over the place, but one thing that's very important as you're building your audience, as you're like starting as a musician, or even in like towards the end, you want to have direct access to your fans. When you post on YouTube, you do not have direct access to your fan as much as you like to, right? If YouTube goes away, how are you going to communicate with them? This is something that in the creator space, more and more people are understanding, especially with the OnlyFans, like sort of fiasco, where they all of a sudden they were not going to allow the same content that they've been allowing for so long. All of a sudden people are freaking out. It's like, crap, I have to diversify. So yes, you do want to diversify. Just like when you post your music, you don't post it always on Spotify. You might do Apple. You might do all the other platforms. Similar, you want to have that direct relationship, and that is via text or email. So at Fourthwall, one of the most important things is we don't own your data. You own it. Your supporters' data is yours. We don't have contracts. You can leave at any time. And when you leave, and we've had a few people leave either because they decided to stop being a creator or anyway, slew of reasons, we always tell them like, hey, don't forget before you delete your shop, don't forget to download your data. Because that's very important, and that's how you will communicate with your fan base whenever you decide to come back. And also whenever you do something new. We have one of our creators, Phil DeFranco. He is huge with his email and text line. And he knows how to market correctly. And he'll give access to whoever you have emails, send them a note and let them know, hey, secret, just for you, you have a 10%. Or just for you, we've launched this. Here's the passcode to enter the site and buy. And so those folks that bought from you feel special, if you're rewarded, but you now start to develop that relationship with them directly. So as if you, some reason, want to do something big, you have that point of contact.
Eli's crushing it on the sustainability part of this podcast and book this podcast is based on. So, I'm totally serious. So yeah, that's another direct-to-fan data collection point.
100%, yeah. It's very important.
Love it. Can an artist work with Fourthwall if they have existing stock?
Yeah, that's a cool part that we see a lot of musicians have come to Fourthwall, and then they always have that question. It's like, yes, you can either fulfill it yourself with Fourthwall. There's a way for you to download your orders, put them in like a Shipping Easy, stamps.com, and all these like different label buyers or fulfillment services. But you can also send it to our 3PL, which is third-party logistics. It's a fulfillment warehouse. It's sort of like a value add service that we give. For you to send your products, there's some requirements on how to send it, and you'll need to put some things in the label, but you send them and then you don't have to worry about. As they sell, they'll start getting fulfilled. You get charged a fee whenever they sell. It's what it's called, a pick and pack. The fee is like for the first one, and then a different price for any additional ones after the first one. And then you do have storage fee. So depending if something will move, you might want to send it to the warehouse and the fulfillment center. If it's something that sells one every month and you have a lot of inventory, it might be better to self-fulfill it because you'll save some money on the fees that come with like storing that elsewhere. But yeah, like do that whenever you have unsold inventory for tour. Whenever you want to do something special, right? I know as musicians, you might not be a knitter, but like we have creators that knit, and they'll sell the sweaters that they did on their video.
Cool.
They'll put it out there. We have a creator that does a lot, like her communities around thrifting, thrifty, and she'll sell thrift boxes. She has a network of people that thrift around the world. Wow. And they'll create these boxes and then you can buy them. And they'll self-fulfill it. And so it's a great way to sort of send something unique, send something special for your fans, something special for you, right? And so you can do that. There's multiple ways of doing it with Fourthwall.
I didn't know that. That's so cool. So you can also fulfill your own merch. So you can do on demand with Fourthwall, or you could do the handwritten lyrics and some of those ideas. I love that. That's fantastic.
You mentioned in the intro posters, though they're a little bit of a pain in the ass to ship. They are great. Like you mentioned, the margins are great, but you can also do them on demand. But if you have a way to print them at home, you can sign them and then send them to the warehouse. We'll handle that for you. And it's another one that sells really well normally, and when you autograph them, it like sells amazing. And it's not that hard to sign, a couple hundred posters. You just have to get in the rhythm. Your hand will hurt, but it's pretty easy to do.
Do some hand yoga.
Yeah, a lot of stretches when you're doing that.
Yeah. Well, last question from me before I open it up to any audience Q&A. What are ways artists and creators can promote their Fourthwall store?
So there's a few ways we recommend. One is make sure you're showing your audience how much this means to you. So meaning take them through the process, hear them out. If you are, there's a lot of musicians who use Twitch or live streaming, I should say, to connect with their fan base. Hear what they're saying, talk to them, walk them through the process, throw out ideas. If you have a Discord, throw out ideas, throw out polls. If you have a Fourthwall membership, which I'm gonna instead of Patreon, use Fourthwall membership. Ask there, do a poll there. It's like, hey, we're thinking about doing merch. What would be the items that you would like? Here are 4. And see what your fan base does. And so that's very important, bringing them through the process. The second is reward your early fans, your most loyal fans. There's I don't know if you've heard of the theory of 1,000 through fans. That's very important. All you need is 1,000 through fans. And what that means is not just fan that will buy once, it's a fan that buys anything and everything that you put out there. It's a fan that will talk to anyone that would give them an ear about you and your music and your art. It's a fan that's like will travel to different places to see you. With 1,000 through fans, it's sort of like it's exponential, right? That 1,000 people know 10,000 people, and those 10,000 people then hear you. Maybe 1% becomes a through fan, and then it just keeps going and going. So make sure to reward them. That could be one of the cool features that we built into Fourthwall is what we call a thank you video. So when you supporter buys from your Fourthwall shop, they have an option during checkout to leave a message and leave an extra donation. An extra donation is very common in the creator space. A lot of people leave, even if it's just an extra $1 or $2. That all goes to you as a musician or as a creator. But they also have an option on top of that to leave a message for you.
Cool.
And you, within your app, your Fourthwall app, you'll get a notification. Eli just purchased. When you click there, you'll see what I bought, what message I left, and you can record sort of like a selfie video with a teleprompter of the message I left, my name, if it's my first, second, third purchase, if I'm a subscriber of your membership, all these things so that you can do a 10-second unique video for them. And what that yields is amazing loyalty. It rewards them because for 10 seconds, you knew their name. You said their name. You knew who they were. And so that makes them super excited. They'll share those on social media, and there's a watermark on the top right-hand corner that directs them to your shop.
Cool.
So now I know, oh, that's cool. I want that. How do I get it? Oh, wait, I go there. And it creates this perfect circle of, I like that. I'm a fan of it. I want to buy. I got this message. I'll share it with my friends and family, and most likely people that are within your friends and family, they'll like that music, that creator, and they'll want to buy it as well. So make sure to reward your fans, and then promote it in your socials, not just have it on the link on bio, but make sure that people are aware that it is there. From the first time you drop, if you do a drop, which is like a time limited, like, hey, only 2 weeks available and then it's sold out, no more available, or if you do what is called an evergreen, which is like always available, make sure to remind them. Wear it, promote it in your videos, everywhere you go, basically, is promote your site. And what I mean site is not just your Fourthwall. You can make it sort of your one-stop shop. And that's very important as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sales, specials, promotions. If it's your birthday, you can run a sale. 4th of July is coming up in the United States. Obviously, holidays, Black Friday. My company manages an artist named Julia Nunes, and this may have been during the pandemic, but also it doesn't really matter. Her merch company came to us and said, we have like 100 custom Julia ukuleles. Can we run a sale or something? They were probably $100 items. So we did like a 25% off sale and sold out of them immediately. So she made like, an extra $7-8 grand in a week. And then Julia's like, let's do this for all the items. Tell me the one that's selling the least, and I'll like cut it up and do cool things on Instagram. So if you're, like you said, if the store is just sitting link in bio, or sitting on as a part of your website, like nobody knows about it.
Yeah, and then one thing I would say is that you mentioned your birthday discount. That's a great one. Giving discounts when no one else is doing. Meaning, 4th of July one is you're going to get 1,000 emails with the promotion, and you could do it. And there's nothing wrong, and it'll still yield sales. But if a random day of September, when it's your birthday, you're sending this message, it's sort of like it yields way more because there's nothing else competing against you. And so that's a very good way of getting people to come visit your store.
And also, actually, I thought of a few other questions. Like on the other end of the scale, you don't have to share the company or artist, but like you also can handle a lot of web traffic. Do you want to share any info on that? Yeah,
so I can't share the specific artist, but there was one music record label who was trying to sell. They sell their fans or their musicians have to go through the platform that they run, and this was early on in our history. They hit us up because their artists just dropped a single that became the song of the year, basically, that year, and they just, no one could buy it. I went to the experience, and they put me on a queue, similar to like when Ticketmaster now is doing. And then after waiting an hour, I finally got access to the site. As soon as I clicked something, it crashed, so I had to go back to the queue. And it's a very poor experience. At the end of the day, e-commerce, you want to make as frictionless as possible. There's certain things you can do when it's fan base. For example, Nike will never leave a message or a donation because that's an extra step. But for something like creators, musicians, podcasters, and whatnot, your fan base wants more contact with you, so that yields better results. And so they hit us up, and it's like, hey, how much traffic can you handle? And so we said, as much as you send us. We just, ignorance is bliss when you're starting. We had gone through what is called a denial, basically when someone tries to like bring down your platform a few months before. I forgot the acronym. It's like denial of service or something like that. And we had made our platform way stronger. And so within a couple hours, we had spun a shop for them. Back then it was very manual. And so it was all hands on deck. And they started sending their traffic our way. We were able to manage that traffic amazingly. Like, it didn't go down. It was really cool to see people tweeting, because this was a crazy tweet storm when it was going bad. including from the artists. And then when it started in our platform, it was night and day. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's working. It's so fast. And what provoked is people started going, clicking and buying as fast as possible because they were afraid of the thing that was happening to happen again. So that was a cool experience, and it yielded having even more huge artists, some of which I was a huge fan before, use Fourthwall. And so it was really cool. It was a cool experience, and it helped us give us the confidence that we can handle the traffic. And so that is something that we are constantly improving. There's always ways to improve and make sure that nothing crashes, but we can handle like huge spikes of traffic very easily.
I think that really sets you apart, particularly with your investors and your partners' tech background. Because I mean, trust me, I love the merch companies that I know and have worked with over the years, but they're kind of just like, oh, they're like t-shirt shops or whatever, and your partners and investors have tech backgrounds. So.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the hardest part of when we were building Fourthwall is not only the on-demand is a little bit more technology driven, the rest of the space is not. And so that is something that it was very difficult to do, to sort of like, hey, we're building this is our sort of our end goal. Do you want to come join us? And would you be able to put all this technology and change your processes? So, because like, we don't want to talk to you. Like right now, the merch aspect is very back and forth, and it will take months. We want to make it streamlined, where the creator has an idea, it says if it can print or not, and it can go to printing without having to talk to humans, because otherwise it becomes months of a process as opposed to a couple of days. Like right now, if you do a drop, which is when you sell, pre-sale, ones that we recommend drops or campaigns to last between 1 and 2 weeks. Once that drop ends, your fan base is waiting for that product. They will have a lot of leeway because they're buying to support you, but they want their products as quick as possible. And so we've brought down that shipping time to 2 weeks for MOQ products, for a lot of MOQ products, because like the economies of scale and the technology that we put into place, and it does an amazing experience as opposed to having to wait, months at a time.
Absolutely. Why did you call the company Fourthwall?
So it was interesting. We were originally called Pop Shop when we started, and the Keith Haring Foundation, who was an artist in the 80s and 90s, huge here in New York, sent us a cease and desist letter saying, we own the trademark to Pop Shop. We thought it was like, well, that's a pop-up shop. This is Pop Shop. We were so excited about the name. And all of a sudden, we couldn't use it anymore. We're like, all right, fine. And imagine yourself being named Eli for so long, right? Even though it was only a couple of weeks or a month. But you've called Eli for so long. Now you have to find a new name for yourself. So it's very interesting. We just sat there with paper, put every name that we could think of. A lot of them had either shop or pop in it, obviously because they were original. And then I came up with the Fourthwall one, which was funny. It was just breaking the fourth wall is what inspired me. Creators break that fourth wall all the time, right? Like if you go to a play, for those of you that don't know, a fourth wall is the layer between the audience and the actors or the artists. When you go see a play, most likely they won't break a fourth wall. They are acting as if you're not there. As opposed when you are a creator, you're acknowledging your fan. You're either speaking directly to them on your YouTube video, or you acknowledge them when you're playing live in front of them by screaming "Hello New York" type of thing. And so you break that fourth wall all the time. And so it felt appropriate. We made a list of the top ones, and we talked to Alexis. And when he saw Fourthwall, he was like, that was it. That's it. That's the one. And so it's been a great name. The funny thing is not many people spell it 2 words. We'll take it, but it's just one word, which is the funny one. But it's been a great name after that.
I honestly think you guys ended up with the better name.
Yeah, I think so too. Because it's more than just shop, right? Because we have donations, we have the thank you video, we have the membership aspect. And so this is just a one-stop website for you and your fans to connect, to build that community and monetize at the same time.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to share about Fourthwall?
I don't know. Like, I think I've spoken a lot, but yeah, go ahead, go to fourthwall.com, try it out, try some samples, play around with creating your own store, like make it your own. There's so much you can do with it that we don't think about. Like our creators have come up with amazing ideas and innovative ways of using the technology we've built. And don't be afraid of trial and error. Yeah. It's never too soon to build your sort of online presence. You know, you might want to have like 1 or 2 products. It could be as simple as your name, right? The band name, the artist name, or your logo. And as you start growing, you'll start playing around with like, maybe I want to do this design. So never be afraid of that. Same with membership. Yeah. Membership is something that it's a great way of monetizing, you can give access to those loyal fans, behind the scenes, early previews. They can, sort of help you with decision making and sort of yielding of whatever project you're on, and they're willing to pay a recurring monthly fee, right? And there's a lot of musicians and creators that don't pay their bills. Just from the revenue of the membership, and everything else after that it's profit, right?
They do pay their bills.
They pay the bills, they pay their bills. They're like fixed bills, and it's a great way of monetizing, but it's also a great way of rewarding fans and engaging them, right? So again, you own the relationship there, and it's very easy because instead of posting that behind the scenes on Instagram, post it on the membership, right? It's like when you're, as a fan, what you want to see is like, what are they thinking? What are they doing when they're recording? Well, like, what are they doing when they went to tour for the first time in New York City? Like, how was that? Make it into a mini video and post it there and reward them. Even if you later post it in social media, you gave them the inside scoop and they feel more special.
I love that. And the audience knows I only, share companies that I genuinely believe in. So yeah, thanks for everything, Eli.
Appreciate for the vote of confidence. And again, we will never be perfect. We're always striving there, but it's how we treat your supporters and how we treat our creators. And so we'll be there to make sure everything goes smoothly. And then we want to take care of the boring parts for you so you can focus on creating.
I love that. Yeah. Great. Any questions for Eli? Yeah, come on up to the audience mic, please. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Andrew Lipton. Thanks, Eli, for the performance. I had a number of questions. I hope you don't mind.
No, go for it.
The first is, I have to imagine if you're ordering a T-shirt on demand, it's got to be much more expensive to do that as opposed to the minimum amount of orders.
Yeah, so it depends. It depends because minimum have a quantity. But depends on the colors that you're printing there, right? If you're screen printing, I would always recommend stay within the sweet spot of 1 to 4 colors, versus on demand, you have unlimited amount of colors. And it also depends because, yes, it is more expensive on a per unit, but it gives you the flexibility of, hey, you might not need to order the 150 minimum, you just need 10. And that sort of, if you order the 150, you'll end up with dead inventory. So it's a trade-off on unit economics. Gives you the flexibility, and the price is just a little bit more, but you can still sell at a decent price. You don't have to sell it at $50. You can still sell at $25 T-shirt and still make a decent profit.
Was it hard to find manufacturers who actually go with this on demand?
It was tricky at first. It was, imagine walking into the emailing people and it's like, hi, I'm Eli. Yeah, who are you? We run Fourthwall. Who are you again? Yeah. So it was hard, but there's always people that believe in your crazy idea. It's just a matter of knocking on enough doors. Just like any artist, like as a startup, it's the same thing. You just need to find that those people that believe in your vision, and then they go along for the ride with you.
And when you fill an order,
Can I add to that real quick as someone who does not work at Fourthwall? I think it's nice for artists who are getting going and they don't know how many to order. I mean, you should know a little bit through your pre-order, which we covered in episode 2. But then as you grow, I learned the phrase MOQ today. You do have MOQ options, so
Yes.
you can choose both.
You can choose,
which I
yeah,
like too.
you can choose
I don't know
around.
any company that does that. Usually
Yeah,
it's one or the other.
you can, once you have and you know that you will sell consistent volumes, you might want to like then request MOQ, and that way you can maximize your profit.
Exactly.
And sort of you know that you'll sell them, so it's like you're not worried.
Yeah.
And when you fulfill an order, do you guys decide whether it's hanging, through the loop, gilded? Does the artist specify what the quality is?
So that's up to you as an artist, and that's like we will suggest what we call like staff picks. There's for every price point, what you're looking for depends on what your audience is. You'll select your brand that way. We have filters in our product catalog to help you decide there. Like for example, if your audience skews, like I think you mentioned in the intro, someone that skewed in Australia, like the audience was heavily in Australia, you want to find a product that also ships from Australia, so that it minimizes the shipping costs, minimizes the wait time. And then you sort of go through we describe them as best as we can on what to expect on each shirt. I also recommend like researching the different brands. We're very transparent. Like the Gildan is a common one. It's a very affordable and entry point. But in terms of quality, although it's coming back because of the cut and all that, it tends to be a little bit rough. For example, one of the ones that we recommend is a Vela Canvas, which is a very like great all around t-shirt to print on. But if you ask me right now in my moment, I'm a big proponent of like comfort colors right now. My suitcase is in my car, and I think like 5 of the 10 t-shirts that I have packed there are comfort colors. So it depends on what you're looking for.
I'm assuming the label of the t-shirt is like the gilded, and whatever. Can you actually get your brand put on the label?
Yes, you can, depending on the t-shirt. Some t-shirts allow it, some t-shirts you can't. Depends on the manufacturer as well. But yeah, you can do what was called print neck label, PNLs. It also like always research the brand that allows it. For example, I mentioned comfort color. That one is very difficult to do. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just very few manufacturers and printers will do it because you have to literally cut the sew in because it's very tightly put there. Versus a Bella Canvas or Gildan, you can just like quickly with your hand snap it and take it out and print one.
Gotcha. That last question. And thank you for being
No, thank you for all the questions. I like it.
in terms of return policy, do you guys set that policy? Does the artist set it? And do you handle the return?
So the return policy, we set it. You as an artist have control of it, but the process depends on you. Return is very difficult, and it's something that, especially in the on-demand space, the items are made just for you. And so what we do is we have a quality, anything quality related, we will replace it or refund it. But returns, because the item is printed uniquely for you, it's a one-time thing, we do not accept general returns. And what's surprising about that is we haven't had an issue with it. We had like supporters usually understand. It's like, oh yeah, and it's as long as you're transparent with your audience, and it says it there in every product listing. Always, it's automatic. You don't have to worry about it, and it says it there. Like general returns are not accepted. We're like, however, if there's anything wrong with your order, it didn't deliver, we will replace it or refund it. And that's the important part.
Gotcha. Thanks very much, guys.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, get up there.
Thank you so much. Very informative. Anyways, okay, so 3 questions. The first one is, can you do like specialty items? Like I have a really specific idea of like the type of keychain, how it looks, whatever.
Yeah. So we do what we call bespoke. And so those are items like, for example, I mentioned the plushie. That's a very specific because it's whatever shape you want, whatever character you want. Keychains is another one, right? Where it's like very specific, unique outline. You might want it, with a flashlight as an example. And so we offer what we call a bespoke process. The one thing is with bespoke, most of the time you do have to like incurring some sample costs. We will work with manufacturers we worked before or find a good one, and then try to get it done. It's a process. So for that, there's always a sample, there's always some revisions, and then there's shipping timelines, right? Because let's say we find someone in the US a little bit quicker, but if we have to go overseas, you have to bake into, it'll take a couple months for it to ship and like produce, ship, and arrive. So yeah, so you can do very unique stuff, and if not, we will direct you to the manufacturers. So.
And then my second question is, like, there's so many different types of like t-shirts and hats. Is there a way for like, I'm gonna purchase like 100, like I can go and like feel different types?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. One is go to your favorite creator or band, see what t-shirt they're wearing, and try to research that. A lot of the times they'll leave the tag. You can also try to find by the number. But also when you join Fourthwall, you can create samples for yourself. You get sample credits by doing different things like launching it, joining our Discord, participating in different challenges that we do. But definitely order a sample. You can email our support. We even have a help article that tells you like what to expect and what are the t-shirts that we recommend as an example. But our support team will be happy also to guide you. And then it depends on what you're looking at. Read, research. It's a little bit of that when you're looking for a specific shirt. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Eli, thank you so much for your time before you fly off to Europe. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great, and thanks for everyone for the questions. I really enjoy this.
Awesome. Well, let's give it up for Eli, everyone. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's a wrap for this episode. Join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern in real life here at Tower Labs in Brooklyn, or via live stream on our YouTube as we discuss your revenue stream checklist. Always a popular episode. So we're going to make sure, we're going to cover all the revenue streams that are owed to you if you write, record, /release, /play live, or also play live. And we're going to have artist Madison Rose. So in the meantime, thanks so much to Eli Valentin, podcast manager Mike Zimmerlich, engineer Nathan Kane, Matthew Wong for composing the show's music, Danny, David, and Jake at Tower Records, the Ally Coalition, Liquid Death, Hal Leonard, and of course the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment's New York Music Month for making this all happen. We will see you tomorrow. Hello.